Hello everyone. It's been a while since I've actually done anything with one of the video recorder projects, so I thought today we would take a look at probably the C9. So if you remember from last time, we diagnosed a failure of one of the real drive diodes, and in the meantime I've been on to eBay. I have sourced, once I've unwrapped it from the miles of bubble wrap, which is good because it means it's been packaged well. I have sourced a complete circuit board. Now there's a couple of ways that I can go about this. I can either remove the components from the circuit board and then just drop them into the old circuit board. But because, as we discovered previously, these things are double-sided and quite difficult to solder on, I'm going to try swapping the board wholesale, and we're going to see how we get on with that. So let me, in the background, just get this unboxed. Got my test cassette ready, got that ready. Let's get the machine onto the bench and we'll get started. Now, I'll be honest with you, I'm not holding out a huge amount of hope for this because I think there's a problem with the reels themselves, which is possibly why that real drive transistor blew. But let's see where we get to anyway. Right, so let's get this lid off. There you go. And if you remember, it's 1, 2, 4 bolts either side. So I'll get that off and we'll be back shortly. So here we are. This is the board that we are going to be replacing. As you can see, matches like for like. And the board that we are replacing is, just see if I can find an identifying marker, something like the SS1 board. I can't remember the exact terminology off the top of my head, so I will pop that up into the screen. But it's either the SS5 or SS1 or something along those lines. It's basically the Syscon, reel control and major deck functions that this one seems to cover. This one seems to be picture processing, so chroma, chrominance, luminance, etc. Sorry, chrominance is chroma. Anyway, we're going to start off by unplugging all of these connectors, and there are quite a lot of them, so we need to make sure that we know exactly where they go. And to do that, we're going to do something unusually sensible for me, actually, and that is grab a photo of the board and then focus on each of the groups of connectors, and as you can see, they're all part of a common loom, so it runs down into the machine there, 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 and also here. So if I start with these top ones, hopefully what should happen when you put it back together, because they are part of a loom that has been sized appropriately, when you start to put the connectors back in, they should actually fall into the correct kind of positions. That's the hope anyway, because they've got the right length for each connector. and as you can see already, that's coming away nicely. And then you got a couple down here, and thankfully they're colour coded, so they shouldn't be too difficult to, or rather we shouldn't mix those up too easily, because one is white, the other is red, and then you've got a black one here which is on its own. Then you've got white, red, come on, there you go. If you can hear that noise, that's a seagull on the roof. And should be able to just prise back wire management, cable management rather, and very quickly that's one removed. Now the next bit are these little, this little cluster of connectors here over by this little DIN socket. There. That also gives me the opportunity to inspect that fuse, which we tested before and was absolutely fine. There we go, that's those out of the way. Then you got this cluster here. So we'll start and move our way upwards like so. Try and do these one at a time because you don't want to put too much strain onto the wires, and thankfully so far they are coming out. And you got that one, then out with the cable management. That's a fly lead actually on the board itself. So it's quite interesting, you can see that fly leads have been added in post the mastering or post the creation of the board itself, which seems to suggest they had to add in at the design stage extra connections that they didn't think were needed when they came up with this board originally. You sometimes see that in revisions of circuit boards as well, so the original version of this board may not have had all of these link wires. It's also unusual to see it on Sony stuff. You normally see it on Philips kit. The Video 2000 VR 2022 decks are renowned for it. There's loads and loads of them on there. That one's proving tricky. There we go. That one's actually looped in on itself there, so need to remember this black connector, its wires are looped into this cable management, and there we are, and there we go. That's another loom out of the way. Next thing are the little plastic connectors that you've got here, which hold it against the centre of the deck here on these pivot points. So to get those, we'll also need to get cable tie off of there as well. I think I have the suitable tools for that, and I've also got some cable ties to replace that with as well, because we want to try and keep it as neat as possible. So we'll start with that one. There we go. Perfect, there we are, and no damage to the cables either. So we won't mess about with that too much, because when we put the other board in, we can immediately put the cable tie onto there. Then we got these ones, which if I squeeze them together, they do that, which is good. So that's 1. 2 and 3. Number 3's been a bit reluctant. There we go. So I'll put that board to one side because it's not the end of the life for that board yet. Not by a long shot. Now the new board, we'll mount it up to these plastic points first. So these little plastic hinges. If it will allow me to. So there's 1, there's 2 and 3. And if you remember me saying earlier, we've got this here, so we need a suitably sized cable tie. And here's a cable tie that we can just put all of that under. Actually need to work out which ones you want to do, because you've got all of this, so it's going to be not those two, but this clump here. So we'll go through this hole, then actually looking at it, it can harness the whole lot in, so we can go down, grab that with the pliers, there we go, perfect, and clip it all together. That just keeps that everything out the way, and don't forget to snip that off. And now we can start thinking about this again. So we've got this connector, which if you remember goes into the wire management, into the cable management, sorry, and then loops back on itself to the connector. So you need to go into the cable management, loop back and down, like so. And then you got all the others to come in as well. So you've got this one, just going to go into here, and then we have other ones coming in, so we'll squeeze that together and just basically work it into cable management like so. And you've got that one's up there somewhere. This one is there. This one, probably more over this side. So you've got that one, this one, then there. There's a connector there as well, which I've missed, I think. let's get these in and see where we're left, what we're left with. So we have this one. Now don't be surprised if some of these pins are slightly out of shape. You need to gently push them apart so that they're back in shape. And there. And then you've got this little cluster up here, so you've got this white, red, this one here is confusing me, so that one, I actually think that one, I think this one is down around here, so onto this one. So there. This one is here, and you've got this one up here, so getting near the end of its length of cable. That makes more sense actually, like that. There we go, so that's that. Yeah, that does make more sense when you look at it. That one there, 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 that one there. This one here. Is of course if it will lock in. So count 6 and 7. Okay. Yeah, same on the other board. What am I missing? Because you've got, oh I see, so this is the 7 here and I've plugged it into this 6, so there, that's better. There's less strain on the wire as well. And then you've got your black one, and then this white connector which loops underneath here. Goes on there. There we go. Right, next ones are this little 3 here. So you've got red, black, white. Then you've got these ones here. So we've got 4. Let's check that fuse, looks fine. So 4, 6 and 6. Whoopsie. 6 and 6 and 8. So that is 8. Now we've got this little lot. So immediately that can go into the cable management there, and pretty much immediately you have got connector here, connector here, then cable management, then big connector, little tiny connector there. That's a little 2-pin right at the top of the board over here. Now, I'm not going to lie, this board, I don't know where it's been stored, but it's probably been in a shed somewhere, so I'm not holding out much hope for it. However, it should yield diodes that we need, which I could then potentially transplant onto the other board. Got another 2-pin there, so we've got a 3-pin here, we've got a 2-pin right up the top, so 3, 2, then we've got a 4, we've got a 3, we've got a red 4, we've got a white 4, and we've got this larger one down here. Done. Quick visual check to make sure everything's plugged in. It certainly appears to be. Quick visual check to make sure that there's nothing under too much strain and that everything appears to be happy, which it appears to be. And oh, that must be a, hang on a minute, it hasn't fallen off this, no, it wouldn't have fallen off this board. Interesting. Okay, that's probably come off of this one. Thing is, I'm not sure where. Not to worry. I'd have to do a thorough side by side. It's also possible that it's one that I replaced and accidentally dropped into the machine. Right, so something's stopping that going down fully, and it is this. So let's put that round to there. It's still not going down fully. Oh, okay, that's popped out for some reason. So let's put that's back in. Down. I wonder what's stopping that. That's odd. It's all in. So that's fine. That's all in place. That's all in place. That's there. That's all cable managed in place. It's these ones which are a bit tight. But even they're okay. Okay, so something around here that's stopping it. Right, leave this with me a minute. I'm just going to see if I can get this back in. It may have gone out of physical alignment slightly. So the problem was the fusible resistor had just got bent slightly out of shape on this board. Straightening it up and just tidying up some of those fly leads allow me to put this back in again. So I need another screw for there, ideally. And I do have a collection of those sorts of screws, which I should be able to pop in. Go. That's nicely secured. This one, and let's see if I can do something about that. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Done and done. So now, the big test, will it work? I am not holding out any hopes, to be honest, because I think the problem is probably reel related rather than the actual board itself, given the way that although the reel motors don't feel particularly stiff, so that's on. Power switch at rear. So that's out of standby, and I think there is a problem with that new board, because as soon as you take that standby, almost every single button is illuminated, and I bet you that it won't take a tape. Nah. Yeah, it just locks itself out. So that's usually, well, it could be a number of problems, but it's usually one of the logic chips. So in other words, one of these is past its best. So that means that what I'm going to have to do, and I'll be honest, because it's very hot in here, I'm not going to be doing that today, but what I'll have to do is remove the board again and put this one back in and take the drive transistor off of the spare board, put it into this, and then give this one another go just to see how things are. But it's good that we've tried the other board, because that could have been a very quick fix to the problem. However, unfortunately that's turned out not to be the case, which is not the end of the world, because I'll be honest with you, I kind of expected that it wouldn't work, and the reason I bought it was because it would yield useful spares for this. So it's not a bad situation at all. I've got the board, I've got the individual components, I'll be able to unsolder, resolder, and then try again. But at least with this board we had something that mostly works, certainly from the tape taken in perspective and also a deck logic perspective. It is also possible I got one of those connectors into the wrong order, but I think the problem is more down to probably one of those chips on the board itself, one of the controllers, microcontrollers. Anyway, not the end of the world. Certainly gives us something to be looking into and something to cover in the next session with this particular deck. Anyway, for the moment, that brings us neatly to the end of this particular video. If you have enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the like button. If you've got any suggestions about why on the other board I'm not getting any real rotation and why that driver seems to have blown itself apart, I'm also welcome to those suggestions as well. So yeah, that is it for today. Again, don't forget to hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care, thanks for watching.